Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome back to a brand new video. And today we are going to be releasing the second tactic of the week. I did promise it if we hit 20 likes on the previous video, and you guys absolutely killed it and smashed 50. So we are going to be bringing Gerrard's 4-3-3 system that he used at Rangers and also that he's using at Aston Villa. Now this can be seen as a 4-3-2-1 as well, but on the actual paper it does sort of shape up as a 4-3-3. But let's get in to the first save, which is going to be with Rangers. But before we do, please leave a like on this video. Be sure to comment on who you want to see next. I know I've got about probably 4 or 5 managers that you guys do want to see who are going to be coming up next, but please do keep the suggestions coming. But let's get into the video. So then, this is going to be the first save we've done it with. In today's tactic video, we are going to be testing with Rangers and Villa, if you didn't gather by the thumbnail. Now, this tactic, again, it works very well with sort of a middle team. Obviously, Rangers are one of the top 2 teams in the Scottish division, but with an Aston Villa, it's very balanced. So you're not going to take Villa and go and, make them win the league without some signings. But this, I wouldn't call it an underdog tactic because it can compete against the best teams and it is usable with sort of mid-table teams. But in the Scottish League, we absolutely dominated. We won the division by a remarkable amount of points. We were the best at scoring goals, scoring 127, only conceding 23 as well. Obviously, you can see down here, you've got Morelos with 38 goals, Tavernier with the highest match rating. Quite common sense. We also managed to win the Premier Sports Cup. Runners-up also in the Scottish Cup against Celtic, which is disappointing. Not so good in the Champions League, but I'm going to put that honestly down to the squad. I don't feel like Rangers as a team are ready for the Champions League just yet. So unfortunately, we couldn't progress too far in that tournament. If we go to the data hub, though, go into the attacking, the stats are absolutely outrageous if we have a look. We actually scored 3.3 goals a game. Expected goals per game sitting at just under 3, but we did do better and go above and beyond that. And as you can see, scored above 3, as I did say. Pass completion is very high in this system. Again, I wouldn't say it's a tiki-taka tactic. It's definitely, there is spells of possession in that, spells of good play, but you can also see this tactic go long on rare occasions. Going into the defending then, we actually ended up conceding just under a goal a game, or just under, quite a bit under a goal a game, sitting at 0.6. Obviously, if you were to round up, as I always like to say and make clear, that would be a goal a game. So we actually ended up conceding roughly about a goal a game, scoring 3. So very good in this division. Tackle win ratio sitting at close to 80%, again, which is good. Quite a few fouls made per game because, it is a system which will take a few tactical fouls when needed. And to be honest, it's not something I don't like seeing. Like, it's actually quite useful. I know you do rack up the bookings, so one thing I will say is, obviously, if you don't like that side of the game, you think you're getting too many bookings, just tell players to lay off a little bit. Don't get as stuck in on some of the players. But no, this tactic is it's a very good tactic. One thing I will say is, obviously, I tested it with, obviously, Rangers, who are expected to win the league, if not come second, so I get that. But with Villa, what we've done with Villa was honestly incredible. That is a point of how good this tactic is, because what we've done with them was honestly outstanding, and you will see it, and I'm pretty sure you'll be amazed by it as well. But what I want you to see is, we didn't end up winning the league, but that's not because this tactic isn't perfect. It's because obviously Villa have got a good team, but their team, without making any more signings, isn't good enough to win the Premier League right off the rip. Especially when you're playing on an up-to-date database, such as I am, such as many people are. The likes of Liverpool have Nunez, City have Haaland, Phillips, all these players. Chelsea have Sterling. So what I'm trying to say is, don't download this tactic, use it with a mid-table side like Villa, and instantly expect to win the division without signing at least a few players. But let's hop over into that Villa save and see how we done. Before we do hop over to that Villa save, though, guys, if you do enjoy my tactic videos, please do leave a like on this video. Please do subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and get involved in the other series as well, guys. We've got a journeyman going, we do rebuilds, there's a lot going on the channel, loads of content coming, and this is just the start. Let's hop over to Villa and see how we done. So this is what I mean by remarkable, because I did not expect to finish here in the division, and 4th place Champions League football for Aston Villa in one season, with no signings apart from the signings that have made in real life, which, granted, they have made some good signings, but we also managed to do the FA Cup. We won the FA Cup and got Champions League in the first season with Villa. And granted, it was quite an easy final against Southampton, so I imagine a few teams must have gone out quite early on who are the top teams in England. Unfortunately, we do go out in the semi-finals of the Carabao, but it is against Manchester United, who, let's face it, are better opposition. But no, I was really surprised to finish fourth. My honest prediction before I simmed this, because usually I hit simulate, then I go and do something, I go and edit a thumbnail, do something like that. I thought I was going to finish around the 5th to 6th area, and I would have taken that. My aim was to get European football or conference, but Champions League, granted it was by a point, but honestly, incredible scenes, it really is. Danny Ings contributed massively there. And obviously with Rangers, we didn't do this, but we are going to have a lot more of an in-depth breakdown of this Villa save. So let's have a look then. So goals, we've got 23 from Danny Ings, 15 for Bailey, McGinn with 14, 13 for Watkins, 9 for Coutinho, Buendia with 7. Assists, we've got 12 from Bailey. McGinn coming in with 11, 11 for Watkins, 8 for Digne, Nakamba coming in with 8, 6 and 6. So one thing you'll see here is like, it doesn't score as many goals as some of the tactics I have published on this channel, but it does score a very reasonable amount of goals, of goals. And what you will see is it's not purely relying on one player. Like obviously in this scenario, and in the Rangers one, the striker was the person getting the most goals, but it's not a complete drop-off. Like beyond the 23, you've still got 15, 14 and 13, which are still very good amounts of goals considering these aren't striking players. So, I mean, it is spread out very well, and that is something which is important when it comes to this game, because obviously if you do get injuries in the team, it's never a good thing, and it is always hard to replace the main man. Going into the data hub then. Team attacking, we actually bang on, very straight. It's always weird when you see a bang on number. Going to be 2 goals per game, which is very good for this division with this team, I will say. Again, pass completion sitting very high, nearly 89% there. The cross completion and the shots on target ratio, sorry, aren't high. They're not typically are, unless you do have a work the box into the ball selected. You will sort of, you know, have the odd shot that's off target. But in this system, Gerrard's system, it is about getting the shots on the goal, and playing like this, I don't think you could say that's the wrong thing to do. Going on then to the team defending, which again is going to be slightly more conceded than what we did at Rangers, but you've got to take into account the teams that are in this division. So we did actually end up conceding 1.11 goals a game, which is sitting just over 1. But even with that, we scored 2, sorry. So we're still scoring more than what we're conceding, which is pretty much what you want from every football match, right? That means you're going to win. Again, tackle win ratio sitting quite high, actually, to be fair. A few more fouls in this one, just because I imagine it is trickier opposition, and, you know, maybe we've got a few more aggressive players in this side. But in terms of building a tactic that is suitable for a team, let me just quickly show you what I mean by a suitable team. So when I say this, I'm looking at the likes of, you know, Villa, your Evertons, your Leeds, your Leicesters, your Brentfords, your West Hams, your Wolves, Southamptons, Brightons, all these like sort of middle table type of teams, this tactic is perfect for, because it's balanced. You're not going to be too attacking, you're not going to be too defensively weak. In this one, we were the second best at scoring, so the outlook was very good. Granted, it's not horrific considering there's obviously 20 teams. We ranked 7th, but if I was to test this with a Man City, a Liverpool, a Manchester United, I guarantee we would have won the league. And maybe going forward, I will do that. But what I like to do is strictly test the teams that this manager has managed, because it makes the video more personal at the end of the day. If I was to go and, you know, get a Gerrard tactic tested at Man City, it's like, come on, you know, it doesn't really feel the same. So that is why I picked Rangers and Aston Villa. But let's get into the next segment of the video, which is going to be a bit of 2D analysis, see how the tactic plays, and then it is going to be time to break down the tactic and the player roles. So the game I've picked out is actually going to be a 4-0 win against Southampton in what was the FA Cup final, the big one. It was a very dominant performance as well. But this is how the team lines up, and you might be sort of let me make sure it's all the way back. So this is a very good image, to be honest, to talk about how this does line up. So you've obviously got your 4 at the back here. You got this guy is slightly more pushed up, which is actually how it's meant to be. These are your 3 in midfield. Obviously, you've got Kamara in this case, Coutinho, and also McGinn. You got your left-hand side winger, who actually is going to be Watkins in this occasion, and also Bailey on the right-hand side with Danny Ings as sort of the main striker. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how this sort of works. So let's start off with this guy here. This is a very, very big player in this tactic because he links up the play, he drops back, he links up the play between mainly these two centre-backs because Villa do play the ball from the back, believe it or not. They might not get as much credit as what a Man City does, you know, these top teams in Europe for doing it, but they do play the ball about quite well. So this guy plays a vital role in that. And then these two, which are going to be the midfielders, they do sort of roam. This player here, he was actually a Metzala, has got the most freedom of the midfield by a long shot, to be honest with you. He will link up the play very well. He will move into channels. He will sort of, you know, and the beauty about this is, which I'm going to get to in a second, is, so we've talked about this guy. Moving on to McGinn. Again, he will drop back and he will sort of make these almost sort of like triangles. But this is where the wingers, or actually sort of, they're more narrow sort of wingers. This is where they play a big part because, as you can see from the start, they sit very narrow, and that's perfect because you've then got so many options on the ball to pass to. And just because they start narrow, it doesn't mean that they won't eventually get wide, but going forward, they do also stay quite narrow. They cut inside with the ball, and that front three almost looks like a narrow 4-3-3 at some stages of the game, which is why sometimes you get that... it's not confusion, but it's why it sometimes can also be played as a 4-2-3-1, because what happens with that scenario is you have your four at the back, right? And then you would have, for example, Kamara would shift over to here. You'd have McGinn shift over to here. Then you get someone like Coutinho possibly push up here into sort of like a cam area. And then your front three can be your, you know, sort of like, or your front three, your left hand would be like a left midfielder, your right wing would be a right midfielder, and your striker. So you got, you know, your 4-2-3-1, hence the name. But no, so going back to actually how it lays out in the 4-3-3, this narrow sort of style does work very well. And what we're going to see, we're going to go over the key highlights. There is 4 goals. I believe the last goal is a penalty, so there won't be too much to talk about regarding that. But let's go into the key highlights and actually see how this plays. So, key highlights then. What I will say about this is as well, Gerrard might not be known for being the most pressing style of manager, but he does occasionally, you know, there is a little bit of... There's definitely a bit of effort required to play in this team, as you'll see. So that's going to be Redman with the ball there. And we've got 2 players literally red hot on him. It's great bit of... And look who that was, by the way. That was Kamara. And this is perfect now because we can really see this. The centre-backs do something... Or they will push up to try and win that ball back sort of when they can. But if things would have went wrong there, look at number 21, Kamara. Diego Carlos has pushed up. Kamara's switched on, and he's back there in pretty much a right centre-back spot because he's used to sitting back, linking up the play, and he just fills in the gaps when he needs to. So it's going to be Kamara with the ball there, back into Martinez, ball over into Digne, ball into Watkins, little pass back into Digne, great play here, into Mings. And this is what I mean, you are going to see some great play, but then when that does need to go long, the ball will go long. Unfortunately there, it wasn't a great pass, but as you can see around there, they do play it out around the back. But when there is an option, that time granted it didn't go right, but when it does go right, it works very well. Lianco with the ball there, a poor ball, Digne intercepts it again, no issue going back, playing it around the back, and again, look at this, Kamara, see him drop from there to there? That's what it does. That's why this tactic is so good. Kamara drops back in there into the pocket. He's got the ball. Kamara back into Diego Carlos. John McGinn plays the ball long because the option was on. Watkins goes through. And look at this. That little dart and run from there gets in there from Watkins and Ings. It's an easy goal. A player like Danny Ings will not miss those any day of the week. And it's little things like that which do make the big difference. We're actually going to see another goal here from what did originally start from a throw-in. Coutinho again, Digne, the fullbacks. We didn't talk about the fullbacks. So the fullbacks do a little bit of both. They do push up, but again, because them wingers do play narrow, there's always an option to literally... I'll try to pick... Imagine like left backs here and a wingers here. There's always an option to play quick 1-2s. And obviously you've got what would be one of the 3 midfielders as well. So there's always a pass on. That is one thing I will say. Digne, back into Coutinho, back into Digne on the edge of the box. Kamara's there for the option, and the switch is on. John McGinn, because he has that ability to roam, that is why, because he gets in them areas. And then it's back into Matty Cash. Doesn't unfortunately lose the ball, but now look at this. Armstrong is potentially going to have what looks like to be at least 4, if not 5 players trying to hunt the ball back. And that is why he's forced to play that long ball. And it's an awful ball, and that wouldn't have happened if the press wasn't on like it was. So they're forced to play the ball in a pointless area. We win the header. Coutinho gets the ball there. Watkins plays a beautiful ball over into John McGinn, who is quite pushed up there. But again, because he's got the ability to roam, that is why he does get into them areas. John McGinn cuts it back into Kamara, and that is one hell of a finish by the looks of it. We didn't even get to see the goal, but even from a 2D perspective, you can tell that is one hell of a goal. So, what's going to be up next then? We've got another goal coming in. It's going to be from Bailey back into Cash. Martinez actually coming out there. He is on a sweeper keeper duty. He's not on attack, but he will sort of come out, and he won't come out and like try and tackle players, but when the ball's like here and Matty Cash needs an option desperately, he will come out, and he is obviously a bit out of his box there, but he plays the ball into Tyrone Mings there, takes his time with it, takes his time, drives it a little bit forward because we do have a ball player, and that typically is your more expressive one of the two going forward. But as you can see here, we've got Diego Carlos, who isn't the more expressive one. He stays back, so if anything did go wrong, at least we've got at least one who could take a tactical foul if needed. Coutinho then with Ings, and loads of space. John McGinn back into Watkins. And look, going into the box, this is what I want to talk about. Going into the box, we obviously have, he's just outside, it's going to be Digne, I believe. Digne. This system can also get balls into the box. It's not purely hit and hope, but you will see balls getting floated in. And it's a good job we do, because at the moment, actually players in the centre, we obviously have Coutinho, not the tallest. Danny Ings, quite good from set pieces. John McGinn, and also Bailey. So I believe this ball here gets dragged back into Digne, and now look at the options. I mean, it's endless. He's actually got 5 people. Kamara, Bailey, McGinn, Ings, Coutinho, and it's endless options. He puts the ball in, and it's a great header. And when you've got, you know, so many players in the box like that, when a ball does go in, you've got a very good chance of scoring. But that is going to be what the game looks like, playing this tactic actually inside of an actual game, using the 2D sort of, you know, picture, whatever you want to say. But I hope that does, you know, I always enjoy making these segments of the video because you actually get to see how it works inside of a real life game. But let's actually break down this tactic then by showing, you know, the settings or the tactical style, whatever you want to call it, and also the player roles. If you guys are enjoying my tactic videos though, and you do want to see, you do want to see 2 tactics a week, do let me know in the comments, and please do leave a like on this video. I usually used to post 1, but because we are coming towards the end of the game cycle, it is sort of becoming a bit dry for content in some areas, but tactics are always fun to make. So if you guys do want to see 2 tactics a week going forward, do comment below, smash a like on this video, and I'll tell you what, if this video gets 30 likes, then next week we'll upload 2 tactics as well. But let's break down this Gerrard tactic. So this is going to be the Gerrard 4-3-3 Deluxe, whatever you want to call it. I'll just whack a fancy word at the end just to separate it from the rest. So let's go into the mentality. The mentality originally is going to be attacking. Obviously, that can be tweaked in-game when needed to do so. In possession, we have got wide attack and width, play out of defence selected, standard on the pass and directness, tempo set to higher, be more expressive, and mixed crosses. In transition, we've got regroup and counter selected, distribute to any of the back line, the centre backs to full backs. They all should be good with their feet because they do play out from the back, and take short kicks selected. Out of possession, then we have got a standard defensive line. So typically Gerrard does actually rock a higher defensive line, but when I go into a game, I always start with standard because, you know, you can be weak playing a higher line, but please do tweak this about. Don't just leave it at standard because it is very good also playing with a higher line. Much higher line of engagement is always what it should be. Prevent short goalkeeper distribution and the trigger press on more often, and force opposition outside for the defensive width. But moving on to the actual player roles then. So sweeper keeper is going to be on the support role. Nothing too special selected for this. Very, very straightforward. The right back, actually a full back, is going to be on the attack duty. Now this can be, I tested this with both, as I did mention earlier in that 2D analysis. You can have them on automatic, and I did test them, but there was a point in the season where we weren't actually scoring enough goals. So what I want to talk about, and this is why it's very important to watch this part instead of just instantly downloading the tactic and dipping, is because I do like to tell you pretty much what you should be doing if you see negative sides of this tactic. So if you're playing a team which you feel like you're very confident against, and you feel like your fullbacks can have the license to roam, can bomb up the pitch, do what they want, go in with the attacking option. If you're playing a team which you think, yeah, they've got good wingers, so your Liverpools, your Cities, Chelseas, all the top teams have them on automatic, because then they will get back as well. Obviously, attack and they do defend, but you've got to leave yourself a little bit more vulnerable at the back with the attack. So just be sensible how you use these against the teams that you do use them against. We didn't actually go over the instructions. So the instructions are going to be on balance, trigger press, get further forward, sit narrower, and short passing selected. Exactly the same for this guy as well. Same logic when it comes to obviously choosing between attack and automatic. Again, exactly same with the instructions. So do just copy these step for step. Going on to the centre backs then. Now these always should be on defensive. You want to have a ball playing defender and a central defender. One defender is a bit more expressive than the other. The ball playing defender typically will be the defender, as we saw, will push up in their more attacking areas. But for the central defender, the more resilient one, the more sort of, you know, just pure defender, put him on balanced on the trigger press and shorter passing selected. On the ball playing defender, I don't actually have him on dribble more or anything like that, but it's because he's a ball playing defender. He will naturally just go up the pitch a bit more, as we saw on 2 or 3 occasions just in one game. And to be honest, it wasn't too much of a defensive risk, because when he pushes up, one of the midfield players drops back and replaces him. So it's not a bad thing to have, and it just helps going forward and creating more chances. Moving into the midfield then, we have got the deep lying playmaker, who arguably is the most important player in this team. He's got so much to do. We have got him on mark tighter, balanced trigger press, shorter passing, and that is all we have for him. This guy will just pretty much, I don't have him on get further forward, because then you won't see him sort of stick around as much to fill in pockets like back here and, you know, cover for the ball playing defender when needed to do so. Going over to the right hand side of the midfield is going to be an automatic, not attacking, an automatic centre midfielder. On the balance, trigger press, mark tighter, move into channels. That is where we saw them lovely passages of play, which John McGinn was getting into typically. If you don't have that selected, you won't get that, and that is what you want. Standard on the pass and directness, and that is it. Again, with this system, it's not tiki-taka. The passing is there, the short passing, but as we saw with 2 of them goals, I believe, the ball did go long, and there's nothing wrong with that. It does create very good chances. Going on to what I would like to call the Coutinho role in this side, it's going to be the Metzala, the most attacking midfielder. This guy's got the license to pretty much do what he wants. Great chances for that front 3. Balance, trigger press, mark tighter, stay wider, a little bit of width in this team, get further forward, standard on the pass and directness, dribble more, because I want him to dribble with the ball at his feet. I want him to cause issues, and obviously a player like Coutinho is very good at that. So the bet, if you've got a player like Coutinho, or you are playing with Villa and you've got Coutinho, it really does thrive with him. Going on to the left-hand side, which is going to be an inside forward on the support role. Now, I'll show one of these because it's exactly the same for the other side as well. It's going to be trigger press on balanced, get further forward, sit narrower, because that is how the team does hold the ball quite well, because everyone is sort of together to play the ball about. Cut inside with the ball. That is why also these wingers, inside forwards, whatever you want to call them, will score quite a few goals, because they do have the license to, you know, not just always feed the striker. They will go and get goals for themselves. And moving on to the main man, the deep lying forward, again, the player that does typically get the most goals, not all of the goals, but a lot of them, on the attack duty, is going to be trigger press on balanced, hold up the ball. Again, do not get put off by this. It doesn't mean he isn't going to score, as we've seen. Standard on the directness of pass, shoots more often, and dribble more. This guy should be selfish as a striker. If your striker's not selfish, he's not a striker. But just because he is told to hold up the ball, that doesn't mean he isn't going to score goals. He's still going to score bags of goals, as we saw. As you can see here again, obviously Danny Ings scoring 23, our top goal scorer. So it is a very good tactic. It's a bag of fun to use, and it is very good with sort of a team that... It's good to use with a team that sort of, you know, possibly you don't want to go too attacking with or too defensive. I would say this is probably one of the best balanced formations I've made to date. It's very good and very fun to use. But that is going to be it for today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, please do leave a like on the video as well. Do subscribe to the channel. We're getting ever so close to hitting 2k subs now. There's going to be loads more tactics coming out before the next Football Manager as well. And when Football Manager 23 drops, there's going to be all types of content going off. A lot of stuff planned for that game. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.